Thank you so much, everybody. I really appreciate your time in wherever you're coming in from. We got an international group here. So whatever time it is, wherever you are, thank you for joining us. I know regardless of what's going on in the world, it's a busy time, right? And we can always find stuff to do. So appreciate you taking your time with us. And we appreciate our presenter. I know he's a busy man as well. And appreciate him being so generous with his time and being willing to come on and help us out, right? Today we're going to be talking about getting started right. This is kind of a follow-up. Last week we did a health and freedom, or we'll call it a work from home webinar, just hearing about an opportunity to work from home. And now we're going to, for those of you who joined that call and were able to get started because of that call, welcome. And for those of you who have been with USANA for a while and want a refresher or want to restart, welcome as well, because you came to the right place. So we have Michael Quejas. He's going to be our presenter this evening, and he's one of USANA's top earners. He's one of the experts here. He's great at taking complicated and complex information and really simplifying it. So if you heard him present last week, you know what I'm talking about. But he's been with the company about 15 years, long tenured with the company. Looks like he started about 10 years old. And he's a world traveler. He's been to 113 countries. His goal is to see all of them. So it's fun to watch him as he's going through and knocking off those countries, marking them off, and continuing on that towards that goal. Not only does he travel the world, but he likes to serve, and he serves within his local community. He likes to help. He's very generous, and he works closely with the USANA True Health Foundation and also with the Children's Hunger Fund and donating to them and helping serve his community. So I think having said that, we're going to be able to learn from him today. We're going to hear a little bit about getting started right so that we can get off to the right foot and really get things going and share the USANA vision, share the opportunity to be able to take some products and better our health and also make a little bit of money on the side as well. So Michael, I'm going to turn the time over to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Hey, no worries, man. Thanks a lot, Nate. I appreciate it. So let's go ahead and get into the training. I'm really excited. For me, this is where I have the most fun, which is just training new people who are getting started or people who are getting re-engaged with the business. That's what really gets me excited about this. I'll give you guys a little bit more of my story, just so you know where I'm coming from. And I promise I don't want to bore anybody, but when I first got involved in USANA, I can tell you guys honestly, like I was not the same person that I am today. I was a lot different back then. I mean, at my core, I felt like I'm still the same person, right? But as far as my abilities, my skill set, all of that, that's been developed over the years. So I'm very grateful for USANA because I feel like everything that I know, I learned here. All the business skills that I have, I didn't learn them somewhere else. Like I learned them here in USANA. So that's why I like this. I can remember going to my first training and just sitting there and taking notes. And it's interesting because I can remember sitting in training and really just trying to get engaged, right? Taking notes and then doodling on my paper. And I can remember my upline would tell me like, hey man, are you serious about this business? I'm like, yeah, I'm serious. I'd show up late. I wouldn't really write down a lot of important things. I'd lose focus. So you guys got to understand that when I first got involved in this, I think a lot of the reasons why I didn't have success right away, it had nothing to do with the company. It had nothing to do with the products. It had everything to do with me. And the person, my mentor at the time, was really, really pushing that on me and telling me like, hey man, if you want to be successful at this, you got to get your act together. Like you got to be a serious business person. Like you really have to turn things around. And for me, that was kind of hard to take, right? Like I always tell people, your ego is not your amigo. Your ego is probably the most expensive thing that you have. And if you come into this business and you have a big ego and you're not coachable, you're not willing to learn new skills, I think it's going to be really, really challenging for you. So if that's you right now, I encourage you to put that aside. I always tell people my first 3 to 4 weeks in the business, I didn't make any money. I wasn't seeing success. And then a few weeks after that, things started to kind of turn around for me. And people always ask me, what was the difference? What was the turning point for you, Mike? And I always tell people, man, I just finally started putting myself into training, putting myself into personal growth. I started paying attention to what people were, the experts were saying, and applying those skills. So I'm excited about this because I'm pretty sure there's somebody who's on this call right now who's brand new, and they're probably looking at this saying, okay, I want to be successful at this, right? So if that's you right now, I'm talking right at you. hopefully I can give you a nice start in your business so you can kind of avoid a lot of the downfall. Okay. So anyways, let's go ahead and start with this. I think the mentality is always important first. So people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And what you do simply proves what you believe. Okay. So this is from Simon Sinek. And I think this might kind of get us into that right mindset, because you have to understand that why we do this is different for everybody. But at the same time, you want to have those strong, clear goals on why you're doing this. And at the same time, you want to start to develop your philosophy, your mindset, and think a little bit different. So I'll just give you one example really quick. This was something that was new to me. So let's say I offered you $100,000, or I offered you 1 cent and I would double it for 30 days. Which one would you take? So I always bring that question up for people, okay? And I like starting off with that because it was a paradigm shift. I was used to earning, $20 an hour or $25 an hour. Like, that was my mindset. So if somebody would ask me, like, do you want a lot of money up front, or do you want 1 penny doubled over time? My natural instinct was to say, I'll take the $100,000 because that's a sure thing. And if you ask this question to people who haven't seen this before, or people who are not mathematically inclined, they'll usually say, I'll take the $100,000. It's a sure thing, right? 1 penny doubled over 30 days. How much could it possibly be, right? 1 penny on the first day, 2 pennies second day, 4 pennies on the third day, 8, 16, 32, 64, $1.28, so forth and so on for 30 days. It doesn't seem like it's much. But if you really break down the math, you'll see that that compound effect is substantial. Okay, so by the 30th day, you would have had over $10 million. And the reason why it's 10 million is because you would have to add up all the days before it, right? So just putting that into your mind right now, that what we do here is we're looking to not just add customers, we're looking to multiply customers. We're looking for that compound effect. So whenever people look at this, like, they want that get rich quick scheme, right? Or they want that, like, let's make money fast or whatever. Like, you can make money doing this, but ultimately you're building a business. And in every business, there is that compound delayed gratification. But most people are not going to survive in this industry. They're not going to stick with it, right? There's a lot of different things that are factors in why people succeed in this. But if you have to break it down to at the core, and I kind of mentioned in the very beginning, it's why you're doing this business. That's going to be the game changer. That's the one thing that separates you from everybody else. So we'll get into that why, and we'll really, really dive into that. But in the very beginning, you want to look at, why is True Health important to your business? So the health aspect is a huge part of USANA. It's the core, right? True Health, that's the foundation. So number one, we always encourage people, be your own best customer. If you're trying to get other people to be customers in this business, you have to be a customer first. I always think it's funny when I go to people's like homes, or, I visit friends, and I'm like, can I use your restroom real quick? And I go look at it in their restroom, right? And I'm using the soap, and I'm like, wait, this is Dove. Why are you using Dove soap? I'm like, you should be using the USANA Energy the shower gel. That should be your soap, right? Why are you investing money into other companies that are not a part of your business? So being your own best customer, I think that's key. I look at people that drink coffee all the time. Yeah, I'll have a coffee every now and then, but Rev 3 is my jam, So I'm always going to use the Rev 3 Surge Pack over a cup of coffee. It's just, you want to be your own best customer. You want to make sure that you're using the products. And that's such an easy thing to do, but it's easier not to do. People will just skip on little things like that, right? So unconsciously, you'll just do it. So I recommend being your own best customer. Become a product of the product. Start building your own testimonial. Build your own story. So I have a little checklist right here so you guys can see. Create your own personal story. I always tell people that facts tell and stories sell. Just really building your own testimonial on the products, it's going to be big. Now, as far as information goes, though, you guys can go on YouTube and just look at our USANA YouTube channel, and that's where you can find information on all the products. So I love how USANA has that. They have all the product videos on there. You can just watch them and learn on it. So people always say, Mike, give us product training. Give us product training. I'm like, watch YouTube videos. Read the product information booklet. Read the comparative guide to nutritional supplements by Lyle McWilliam. That's a big book that can really, really help you guys out. And when all else fails, refer to Ask the Scientist. Ask the Scientist is something that we have on our application in USANA, and that can answer any question related to the products or any health-related question. So use the resources that are there. I think that's a good way to start, okay? So next, your goals plus your commitment is going to equal your results in this business. So it's pretty simple equation, right? So once you realize what your true goals are, you can turn them into reality through your commitment. Knowing what your why is for joining USANA and what your goals and dreams are let's say for example, right, in the next 3 to 10 years, right, will you be able to figure out the right path to get you where you want to be? So that's just a little something you can read and try to understand. But what is your why? I think about, for me, when I first got involved in this business, my why was I wanted to pay off my debt, wanted to buy a new car, wanted to move out of my parents' place, wanted to have enough money to pay off just a lot of bills and stuff. So travel, I mean, those were all kind of my goals in the very beginning. But the interesting thing, though, is that I didn't have any goals like that before USANA, okay? All of those goals, I started to write them down once I got involved. So it'd be shocking if you guys go ask just friends. Just ask your friends, ask your family members to say, hey, what are your goals right now? For the next 3 to 10 years, what are your goals? You'd be surprised. A lot of people don't even have goals written down. So if you don't have goals written down, how are you going to achieve them? I've always heard the saying, if you don't know what you want in your life, how are you ever going to get it? So it's very important to be clear about your goals. Now, to get where you want to be, let's set up some commitments, right? You got to put time into this. I think a lot of times people say, I'm part-time, Mike, I'm part-time. And I'm like, there's a difference between part-time and no time, okay? So part-time is like 5, 10, 15, 20 hours a week. Also, approaching how many people per week, right? How many people are you going to contact per week? You have to have those kinds of goals. Eventually it just becomes like second nature. You'll be approaching 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people a week. It's just second nature. Enrolling how many associates, enrolling how many customers. Have those goals set up. I promise you, if you set up just those 4 goals and you stick to those goals every single week, you're going to have some serious results, okay? So learning how to give an effective presentation in under an hour, that's a good commitment. It's something that you can work on. Working with your sponsor for a minimum of 13 months, the person that brought you into this, stay with them for 13 months, really, really learn from them, absorb all the information that they're giving you for at least 13 months. Don't just give them like, all right, I gave you a week of my time, I'm done with you. It's like, no, you really want to just stay close to the person that brought you. They've paved the way. They've kind of gone through a lot of the experiences that you're going to go through. And then, of course, spend some time getting visual about your goals. I always think that a picture speaks 1,000 words, right? So try to have those goals around you. I can remember when my mentor told me that in the very beginning. He's like, Mike, what's your dream car? I'm like, I want to get a Lexus, man. That's what I want, okay? So he's like, let's go to the car dealership. And I'm like, why would we go to the car dealership? I can't afford that. And he goes, no, man, you have to visualize yourself in that car. And I'm just like, I'm broke, man. I can't afford anything like that. And he's just like, let's just go. So I remember my mentor took me to the car dealership. He goes, which one do you want? I'm like, well, that one's kind of cool. Sat in it, smelled the leather, then he goes, let's take it for a test drive. I'm like, oh, dude, I'm embarrassed. I'm not even going to buy this car. So it was weird how he was helping me dream build and create that visual for me. And I remember when I drove it, I was just like, man, this is kind of cool. This feels cool. It helped me visualize myself getting it one day. I remember when I got home, I dream, I'm like, man, one day I'm going to walk into that dealership and I'm literally going to drive one right off the lot, And it was just like, that kind of got me excited. That kind of got me focused. And that was just one of my goals in the very, very beginning. I can remember before I left, I took the car brochure with me. I tore out all the pages, put them up in my room, and I was able to look at them all the time. So it's just, I know it seems kind of stupid or silly for some people, but I promise you, you have to be able to keep your head in the game. It's a big part of success in this business because your emotional roller coaster is a serious thing. And this is like the graveyard for a lot of new associates. So if you're brand new, you just started, I want this to speak to you. Or if you're just kind of getting re-engaged, same thing. As a new associate, you're likely to face a roller coaster of emotions as you get your business off the ground. Don't give up. Remember your why, your commitments, your goals. They will bring you back up to where you need to be to find success, okay? So I'm going to explain this really quick. This is what happened to me in the very beginning. I went to my first presentation. I was very skeptical. I was like, is this really a good thing? By the end of the presentation, I was super excited. I was like, yeah, let's do this. I can remember I got home, I talked to a few people. Even though they suggest don't talk to people before getting training, of course, I didn't listen. So I went home, started talking to people right away. I'm like, dude, I just saw this business. It's amazing. I'm going to sell vitamins. I'm going to make a lot of money. And right away, boom, shot down by my brother, by my mom and dad. I mean, I got shot down by everybody. One of my best friends, I can remember one of my best friends told me, I'm like, hey, you got to check this thing out. He goes, nah, I'm not interested. I'm like, you don't know anything about it. He goes, I know enough to know I don't want to know anymore. And I remember thinking like, I hate you. Like, I'm so pissed off. Like, you're not my friend anymore. Like, I took it personal. Like, it was just weird. Okay. So I was really low. I was really down. But then I went to the training. I got some training. I was back up again. I realized that I had made some mistakes. I got my package in the mail. And I can remember I was so excited. I opened up my package. My sponsor told me, call me when your package comes so I can walk you through it. Of course, didn't listen, Opened up my box. I remember I made my first shake, my first Nutrimil, which is a meal replacement, right? I opened up my box, got the shake out. I got my cup, put the powder in, put some ice in, put the water in, shook it up, took a sip, and I was like, this is gross. But all the powder was stuck at the bottom. Okay. I can remember thinking to myself, like, man, what this thing's all stuck at the bottom. It tastes awful. You have to realize you gotta put the water in first, the powder in second, right? The ice at the end. It's just little things like that. It was just, I had this emotional roller coaster. I can remember one time I was taking my products, I took the products, right? And I wasn't used to like taking a lot of supplements. I can remember I took one of the supplements and I was like, oh, it's stuck. I'm like, this is the end of my life here. I think I'm going to die. I'm going to choke. And it was just like, I was discouraged after that. So it's like in the very beginning, I was doing this over little things. Like little things seemed very big, I think to myself now, like what I can handle, like my mindset, how tough I am, how resilient I am, it's going to take a lot to bring me down right now. It's going to take a whole lot to bring me down right now because I've developed that thick skin. I've developed strong goals, strong commitments. One of my biggest goals, and I'll share it with you guys right now, is as I progressed, right? Yes, I've already accomplished a lot of goals like money and travel and things like that. But one of my goals is really just to create a legacy for my family. I think about my parents. They suffered so hard to get to America. And now for me, it's like, I want to build a legacy. I want people to look back one day, right? I'm talking about great, 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 great grandchildren. And if there's a Callejas 5, 6, 7 generations from now, they're going to look back and like 23andMe or some type of like DNA test and be like, hey, my great, great, great grandfather, that guy was the man, he visited every country. He paved the way. He said, what I'm saying? Like for me, like transcending now is like a big goal for me. It means a lot to me to represent my family in a very positive way. So that's why I do the business now. Like I'm very driven to make my parents proud, for my last name, for my name to mean something. Like that's my own personal goals. Like that's what drives me. That's what gets me up in the morning. It's not so much about the money anymore, right? Because money is, you can build money and keep making as much as you want, but just kind of like making my parents proud, like creating a legacy, like those types of things really, really drive me now. So that's changed over the years. But in the very beginning, that emotional roller coaster, it's devastating. Okay. So I want to make sure you guys keep in mind, if you've invited your first person and you get shot down, it happens. Let's just say the next person you invite, they're like, yeah, I'll be on, I'll come to the presentation or I'll come to the webinar. And then you're like, hey, what happened? Were you on the webinar? They're like, nah, man, something came up. I had a FaceTime with this one girl and, we were just chatting and I totally forgot. But at the end, I remembered and I told her about it. And now she wants to come on the webinar. And you're like, really? And then you're excited again, right? Because now you got 2 people coming. So it's just like this whirlwind of emotions. I think you kind of have to find that even keel. And the only thing that keeps you steady like that are your goals and your why. Okay, so I'm going to move on from that now. Hopefully that's enough for you guys to start writing your goals down, start getting clear with that. Next is your contact list. Your contact list, you need to continually develop and grow your contact list. I mean, that's true for any business. Remember, when someone says no, it just means not yet, okay? That's really what it is. People are always in the looking zone and then they're not in the looking zone. So you have to keep people on that list, even if they said they're not interested at that moment. Ask them if you can revisit them in the future. Never remove them from your list. You can always reconnect with them later and see if the timing is right. So one thing I'll say is this, write everyone down. So if you're on the call right now or you're watching this, write people down. Like start making a contact list of every single person you know. And don't prejudge. That's the key thing, okay? Don't pre-qualify. I can remember when I first got started, I didn't listen to this. My mentor told me, make a list. I wrote everybody down. I had maybe like 5 or 6 names. And then he goes, okay, now write down everybody that you think won't do it or won't be interested. And I was like, why would I write them down? They're not going to be interested in this. He goes, you never know who will and who won't do this business. That's what's crazy about this, okay? And I was just like, come on, like this guy, like he's lazy. He's never going to do a business. He's never going to be interested. This person, not interested in health. They're totally anti like supplements and they're not into all that stuff. It's weird. Like I would prejudge everybody, and that was hindering me in the very beginning. Once I followed the training and I just wrote everybody down and I had a solid approach at every single person, I didn't make the decision for them. I gave them a chance, they made the decision, and then I moved on from there, okay? If you take that approach, you're gonna be very surprised. Those who I thought wouldn't do it totally came on board and did very well. Another thing is asking for referrals. Don't forget that we get paid not only on the customers that we get, right? And all the orders that they make, but if you bring in an associate and that associate refers somebody else, there's also income to be generated there. So I always think that asking for referrals or really building your team, all of those things are very powerful. I'll give you guys a perfect example. One time I brought in this one girl, I won't say her name, but I brought in this one girl and I remember thinking to myself like, oh my goodness, this girl is nuts. Like she's never gonna do anything in this business. I'll give you guys an example why I thought that. The reason why is because when we brought her to the presentation, you know, she signed up right there. She didn't have a lot of money, but she bought a starter kit. And I can remember when I was like, okay, why do you want to do this? At the end of that question, you know what she told me? She goes, I want to buy a bunch of knives. And I was like, what? I was like who has that as a goal? You know, like I want to have this crazy knife collection. I was like, what the heck? I was kind of weirded out by that, you know? But I was like, okay, man, hey, I can't prejudge, right? If that's what she wants, those are her goals, that's fine. We went through all the basic training. She wrote all the people down. One of the people on that list is somebody in my team now who's a Ruby director, who's been a Growth 25 member. And I can remember thinking like, man, can you imagine if I never got that person started, if I never went through the contact list and the basic training with that person, I would not have this superstar in my organization. So don't prejudge. You don't know who's going to bring someone else. You know, I remember this old saying, like, it's not everybody's going to be a superstar at the very beginning, but there are people who know people who can be a superstar in your business. So that's why you never want to prejudge, ever. Even customers, right? I've referred customers who love the products. And sure enough, they'll reach out to me and be like, hey, Mike, the vitamins are great. I love them. By the way, I have a buddy here. If you want to hook him up too, I'm going to send you his information. I'm like, wonderful. Okay, so asking for referrals is a positive thing. Last but not least, adding someone to your list daily. Try it out, you know? Just add someone to your list. Make that a goal. Like just add someone to your list daily. Like if you meet someone on social media, or if you like and comment on someone, and then they follow you, you follow them back, that sort of thing, add them to your list. Even if you're not going to approach them at that moment, doesn't matter. Add them to your list, okay? So hopefully that's enough for the contact list on how to build one. You want to write every single person you know down. And then from there, you got to take the next step, okay? The next step is opening up a conversation. Believe it or not, your speaking skills and your ability to communicate is what pays you in this business, okay? Like how well you can build conversation, how well you can carry conversation, man, that's what makes the difference. Honestly, like if you can't carry a conversation in this business, it's going to be tough. And I want to be honest with you guys right now. In the very beginning, when I first started, I thought I could carry a conversation. I'm like, yeah, I'm social, I can do it. But I just didn't know how to steer conversations. I didn't know how to lead the conversation, okay? Like what I was talking about wasn't giving me the result. Like, yeah, we were chatting, but it wasn't giving me a result because I didn't know how to steer the conversation. And the topics we were talking about were so off course that I felt like, how do I bring up USANA? How do I ever bring it up? So this really changed the game for me right here. So if you don't know how to steer the conversation, this is going to change the game right here. Form. Whenever you're talking to people, just use form. It's a basic skill. I teach it all the time, and it's so effective. Family. When you talk to people, talk about family. You know, especially right now, right? As people are home, you know, people are just chilling at home. Give them a phone call. Hey, man, it's been a long time. You know, how have you been, dude? How's your family doing? And just leave it open. Let them talk. Okay, you want to make sure that you're just listening to your people. How's your mom doing? How's your dad doing? You know, how's your brother doing? You know, etc. Just have that conversation. And as they bring up things like, oh yeah, my dad's good. You know, he's working, but you know, this happened or that happened, and ask more questions. Oh shoot, no way. Tell me more about that. You know, like just keep the conversation going with family for a while. That's going to open up a lot of things that you can really kind of see if you can find a need or find a way to fulfill or to help that person. So if they bring up a topic of health, like, yeah, my dad's doing well, you know, but he's not doing well right now. He's working out right now, or he's trying to lose weight. Like that's something that's coming up that can be used. You don't want to be like, oh shoot, not really? Well, I have a perfect product for him. Like maybe that's not the time to bring it up, but now you have that in your arsenal, right? You have that in the back of your mind going, okay, he brought up weight loss. His dad's trying to lose a few pounds. Cool, I'll keep that in mind, and keep the conversation going. Talk about occupation. So, hey, what's up, man? Where are you working at nowadays? How's your job doing? And just remember, you don't want to do it like this, like, hey, how's your family? How's your job? You want it to have this as like a reference point to keep the conversation going. But when I talk about occupation, this is a very key point. When you talk about somebody's job, you never want to put it down. So I'll give you a perfect example. Let's say that somebody says like, yeah, I'm working at McDonald's. You don't want to say, well, that sucks. Like you never want to put somebody's job down. Okay. It doesn't matter what you think of it. Don't ever put people down. I always think the best thing to do is tell them how great what they're doing is, focus on the positives, and let them tell you the negatives when it comes to their job. Okay. That's a strategy that's worked really well for me. So if somebody says like, yeah, man, I'm working 70 hours a week, dude, it's crazy. Don't be like, that sucks. Be like, well, that's cool, man. You must be making heck of money then, right? And let them say, well, they don't pay me enough. Makes sense? Let them say that, okay? And I think that's the best way to steer that conversation. Have it in the back of your mind. If they talk about how many hours they're working, well, now they're working a ton of hours. If they talk about how they're not making enough income, well, now you kind of have that in the back of your mind as well. So just remember a tip. Don't ever badmouth it. I'll give you another example. This is a really good example. If you've ever seen somebody who's in a relationship, right? Let's say they have a girlfriend, right? And they've been together for, I don't know, a few months or a few years, whatever the case may be. And let's just say that couple has a falling out. They break up, and you call them, you're like, hey, what's up with you and Jennifer? Are you still with that girl, Jennifer? No, we broke up, man. You don't want to be like, yeah, well, she was not that good looking anyways, and she was real mean, bro. Like, if you do that, what will that guy probably do? He'll probably say something like, well, you don't know her, man. She was really nice to me, right? So, like, whenever you tell them how bad it is, they'll tell you how good it is. When you flip the script, right? Say, Jennifer, oh, man, you guys broke up? That's unfortunate. Dude, she was a beauty, man. That's the nicest girl I've ever seen you with. She was a keeper, man. She was amazing, dude. I'm sorry to hear that. And what do you think he's going to say? Man, you didn't know her, man. She was kind of mean sometimes. Like, it's just funny how, like, people always play the other side, okay? So I always say, play the positive side. Don't play the negative side. Let the other person play the negative side, if anything, okay? Now, as far as recreation goes, recreation is a good thing to talk about. That's going to give you an idea of what their goals are, their hobbies, passions, things like that, how much free time they have. That usually opens that conversation up. So I always tell them, like, hey, man, like, what do you do for fun nowadays, It's a great question to ask. What do you do on your spare time? That's a great question to ask. For me, with my buddies, I'd be like, hey, are you still playing hockey? And they're like, oh, no, I'm not playing hockey anymore, man. I'm too busy with work. Well, now time is an issue, right? Or they're like, yeah, I'm traveling a bit. Like, well, dude, where are you going? Are you traveling as much as you want to right now? No, I'm traveling a little bit. Would like to travel more. So it's just one thing, that recreational talk. I'm giving you guys all these tips right now because I feel like it's important. Like I said, having conversations, that's what gets you paid in this business, man. Honestly, like if you can really master this art right here, you guys are going to do really well, and you're going to always have people to talk to. You're always going to have prospects, customers, associates. You're just going to have a lot going on, okay? But if you don't open up these conversations, you got nothing in this business, okay? You got nothing going on. Last is message or money. You never want to ask somebody, so how much money you got? Like don't ask something like that, you know what I mean? But I always think when it talks about money, I always like to talk about like, what are people saving up for, And sometimes it helps when you bring it up, okay? So if I want to talk about money, I'd be like, hey, right now, man, I'm saving for a new home, or I'm saving for a new car, dude. Like I'm trying to get this car. It's 60 grand. I got 5 grand saved already. I'm going to put 10 down. So I'm working towards it. What about you, man? You got anything you're saving up for? Makes sense? It's kind of like, that's a good way to kind of bring that topic up, okay? So, or maybe it's about your kids in school. Like, man, right now I'm working hard because I want to pay for my kids' private school. So I've been putting in some extra time, doing side gigs, finding ways to make multiple streams of income. So I'm really working about it. What about you? Are you working on anything on the side right now? So that's a great question to bring up, okay, for the money question. Focus on those 4. family, occupation, recreation, money. You do that, you're going places, okay? So even on your list, if you say, I'm just gonna form everybody on my list, if you do that, I guarantee you, you'll have a lot of work ahead of you, okay? And you'll start to see some very, very positive things happen in your business. Okay, so let's go over some key points here, all right? So some of these key points are, who are you looking for in this business, okay? So who are you looking for? Your best potential team members are usually solution-oriented people. Find individuals who are seeking to improve their health, their finances, relationships, etc. So that kind of helps, even though you don't prejudge, but those are the people that you're looking for, right? Review your contact list. You can't build a business without a list of names, so categorize the names. Build as far as solid partners. Categorize the names as solid business partners, family, friends, or people who would benefit. Discover their needs. We already talked about, right, with form. And then understand that there's different personalities. There's going to be people who are promoters in this business. These are people who are motivated by fun, highly social, life of the party. They like to stand out with hair, makeup, whatever. I mean, those are promoters. So if you're talking to someone like that, you have to understand that when you invite them to see the business or the product or anything, you have to speak to them a certain way, okay? So I always tell people that I speak 6 languages: English, Spanish, promoter, helper, analyzer, and driver. So I speak those 6 languages because when you're speaking to somebody who's a promoter, you have different types of conversations, okay? Remember, these are highly social people. So if you tell them like, hey, I have a business that, let's just say you're talking business, right? You're like, hey, I'm looking to build an extra stream of income. I'm looking to make money from my phone, work remotely so that I can travel, dude. Like, so if you're talking like that, that's gonna speak to the promoters. Helpers are motivated by helping others, often puts others' needs and wants ahead of their own. So you got to talk as far as help goes. Maybe hey, I'm really working hard right now because I'm trying to make more to give more, right? Or I'm really trying to help out my family, improve their health and improve, you know what I'm saying? Like you got to use the help language when you're talking to someone like that. Analyzers, these people are hard for me to deal with sometimes, but you got to be patient. A lot of times they're motivated by accurate or correct information, detail oriented, factual, exact. So those types of people, you want to use information to kind of get their pique their interest. Drivers, usually money motivated, competitive, goal oriented. They usually take control and they want to take the lead, right? So for the drivers, you have to speak to them a certain way. So just giving you guys those examples for now, not going to go into it too much, but just understand that there's different personalities. Think about which one you are. Usually whichever one you are on that list, you'll know what speaks to you, so you'll know how to approach those people. But if you know people who fit that other criteria, who are in the business in USANA, talk to them, start interviewing them. Say, so where do you put yourself? If you're a driver, what would motivate you? So start kind of interviewing some of your peers so you can get a better idea of how to have these conversations. All right, structure the invite. This is when you're approaching people now, right? If you're going to go out there and talk to people, I always like to start my conversation when I'm actually doing an invitation, when I'm pulling the trigger, so to speak, right? Like I'm inviting them to see a business opportunity, or I'm inviting them to a product presentation, or whatever the case may be. If I'm doing it on the phone, I always start the conversation by asking if they have a few minutes to talk right now. If I'm doing it through text, I probably do it the same way, right? I'd be like, hey, what's up? You busy right now? Make sense? So it's just starting that off, because if people are busy and you're trying to talk to them about something important, their attention is going a million different directions. So you don't want to talk to someone when they're distracted by a lot of different things. So start off by saying, hey, are you busy right now? What are you up to? Are you busy? And ask them, is it a good time to talk? If they say yeah, what's up? What's on your mind? Cool, then give them a call. I like to have the phone conversation because my tonality, once again, for me, it works well. I have a positive upbeat, right? My tonality is very strong. I've developed it over the years. So I like to do the phone call, but I started off through text. That works really well for me. Showing urgency by mentioning that you don't have a lot of time to talk for yourself. So I always try to say like, hey, I don't want to take too much of your time. I just wanted to be really quick and then just go into it from there. Okay, so this is not a form conversation. The form conversation that I talked about a while ago, that one, take your time, call, connect, get that information, kind of see where people are at. That's form. You can do that conversation before you actually pull the trigger and invite somebody to see a presentation for the product or the business. Next is establishing their need. This is where it comes up, right? So if you're establishing their need, I could say, hey, you know what? Like last time we talked, you mentioned that your dad was working out and you want to lose some weight. I actually wanted to share this product with you. Okay, and then that's when you bring it up. So if you establish their need, the conversation is going to go smooth. If you don't establish their need, it's going to be tricky. It's going to be rough. People are going to be like, I don't know, man. I'm not really interested. You're going to get a lot of that going on. So establish the need. Remember, back in form, right? Family, occupation, recreation, money. If somebody said, yeah, I'm working 76 hours a week, and you're like, yeah, but you must be making a lot of money, right? And they're like, no, dude, they're not paying me enough. Once again, hey, I don't have a lot of time to talk right now, but the other day we were chatting about your job, and you mentioned that you were working 73 hours. What if I could show you a way where you can make money working from home or making money remotely? Would you be interested in that? So if you ask a question like that, think about it. You've already established the need, right? So when you bring that question up, it's going to make sense. Whereas if you didn't have that conversation and you go into it right away by saying, hey man, do you want to make some extra money? If you do that, they're like, what are you talking about? Okay. And then that's how things go south. Okay. So I want to make sure you guys understand that when you're establishing the need, there's a reason for that. It's so that your conversation goes smoothly and you're not having to really, twist people's arms to come down. If somebody said that they wanted to have more free time or they wanted to make more money and you bring it up in a conversation like this, it makes perfect sense, right? They're going to want to come down. Now, next, you're going to get this question. This is one of the questions that comes up a lot during texts or during phone calls or however you do it. The question that's going to come up is, well, what is it, right? Tell me, give me more information. If you're brand new, it's often challenging to answer a lot of those questions for new people. So let me give you a little trick, okay? This is what I like to do when I was brand new. Now I don't really do this because I have the confidence to explain it on my own. But when I was brand new, I didn't have that confidence. So I would edify an expert. So when somebody would say, well, what is it, man? So let's say, for example, if I were to say, well, if I could show you a way where you can make more money working from home, would you be interested? And they go, yeah, man, I'm interested. What is it, right? Well, I would say, well, I want to introduce you to my friend and this guy that I just partnered with. His name is Nathan Scully, etc. And then edify somebody else. Talk about someone else. Another good trick to use right now is to use social media, okay? So today when you're edifying, you don't have to say too much about someone. A lot of these leaders, like I edify Ana Lozano a lot, okay? I edify Andrea Akiwa a lot. I edify Salvador and Andrea, right? So I edify Andre Gordon a lot. I edify a lot of people, Felicia and my team. So I edify these people, and when I edify them, all I do is I say, well, it's this guy that I want to tell you about. Look, go to Instagram. I'm going to share his account with you. Check him out. And as I'm talking to them, I'm kind of having them go through the picture so they can see who I'm referring to, okay? So it's always good to kind of share their social media account so you kind of get an idea of who this person is. I think that's a big help nowadays. In 2006, when I got involved, we didn't have that luxury. But today, it's very easy just to share somebody's profile through social media. Let's say you're trying to edify me, right? You're talking to a promoter and you're like, hey, are you open to making more money remotely, like working from your phone so that you can travel? Yeah, I'm interested. Well, dude, I want you to meet this guy. His name is Mike Callejas. He's traveling all over the world. He's working from his phone. He's working remotely. Here, check him out on Instagram. Like I said, if you do something like that, now you're edifying me a little bit. And now you can kind of bring it up. Well, I want to show you the business that this guy's working in and how he's making money working from home. See how all of that flows together? There's a way to do this. If you follow those, that's why I'm giving you guys basic training. If you follow those steps, it works really, really well. All right, use these phrases that put your contacts in the driver's seat, like take a look. Hey, this may or may not be for you. If you say things like that, it feels very low pressured and it almost feels like you're in control and you're taking it away from them. And you're not being too desperate, okay? The last thing you want to do is be desperate. Remember, you have the opportunity. You're the person offering solutions, right? So don't ever feel like you're desperate. You don't need them in your business. You want them in your business. Okay, so here are some key points to go over right before I finish on this point. The ideal invite is over the phone or social media, like I mentioned. Be enthusiastic. How you say is more important than what you say. Okay, how you say it is more important than what you say. So have that upbeat if you need to do some push-ups or jumping jacks before you make the phone call, I like to pace when I'm on the phone. So do what you got to do, but get yourself pumped up. If you need to listen to some music before you make that call, do it. Do whatever you got to do that gets you into the zone. But make sure you have that enthusiastic, upbeat tone when you make the call. Think about it this way. Have you ever called somebody and you're like, hey, what's up? And they're like, hey, what's going on? And you're like, are you in bed? Did you just wake up? And you can tell that they're laying down. Okay. It's like, if you can tell, you don't want to do that. Sometimes when I sit, I'll show you my posture. I'm like this on the phone, like, hey man, how's it going? Like, I even lean forward when I'm on the phone. So I do little things like that. Some of you guys might think it's silly. Some of you guys might think it's crazy. It's worked. It's worked for me for many, many years, and I've seen it work for so many. So highly recommend it. Be enthusiastic. Give less information to more people. Keep the invitation to 5 minutes max. Don't try to explain everything in detail. Whenever somebody asks you, well, can you give me more information? I want more details. Whenever people ask that, here's what you want to respond. Say, it's more visual than verbal. That's why I want to set up the appointment for you to talk to Mike so they can go over all of this. So that's a good way to kind of deflect that question, because all the details will be covered in the presentation, right? So you don't want to go over it on the initial invite. The best thing to say is, well, it's more visual than verbal, to be honest, man. So that's why I'm trying to set up this appointment so you can talk to Mike and he can go over all the details. All right, always edify someone else, like I mentioned. Help them identify their why, talk about what they want, right? So always, once again, establishing the need and using professional words such as appointment. Don't say seminar, don't say presentation, and don't say meeting. I always feel like those are words that are kind of churn people off. So just use appointment. Okay, I'm going to set the appointment for you to meet Mike, or let's set up an appointment for you to be on this webinar. Okay, so use appointment. All right, let's move through this. I'm going to run right through the rest of it. Hopefully you guys are still with me. You guys are getting some valuable information out of this. Let's talk about presentation options. Once you've already established your goals, you've made your contact list, you've done some of the forum calls, so you've established the need, you've started inviting people, what are you inviting them to, right? What are your options? There's a few options. A one-on-one presentation with the Health and Freedom. Back then we used to use the Health and Freedom newspaper. You can do a one-on-one presentation. Now, presentations nowadays are obviously being done online 100%, but you can do them in person when all this kind of blows over, the whole COVID thing. You can do them in person. You do coffee talks, sit down one-on-one with people. You go over some slides, or you go over the getting to know you sauna. That's how you can do a presentation. What about a group event? Group events are really, really powerful as well. I know that people do them still. I've kind of tried to stay away from group events before all of this lockdown. I just want to be more remote. I want to do things online, but I do know that group events are powerful, okay? So doing group events are good. Next is online webcasts. We're doing them right now, right? Weekly. Lori Truman and the management team has been setting up these online meetings weekly, and I think they're valuable, right? We've had 500, 600 plus people on calls. So I think that's the jam right now. And I'm excited to see that, really. I'm glad that online meetings are kind of paving the way, because once the lockdown is over, I still want to continue with online meetings. Even though I know in-person meetings are important, I like the freedom and flexibility of doing things online. So I think it's going to be a game changer. So this business is about people. So this is a key tip. Remember, in order to develop a team, you need to take action. Even if you don't have the perfect presentation yet, start sharing the business and products now. So don't think you have to be perfect in order to do this. My first presentation, very first presentation I did, this is for all the people who are listening right now who are feeling that fear. I can remember my upline told me, all right, you're doing the presentation. I'm like, oh man, my heart was racing. I was so scared. I remember I put my suit on. I had a white shirt, a black tie. I can remember like it was yesterday. First presentation. It was over in Silver Lake in Los Angeles. Some of you guys know where that's at. I sat down. There were 4 people in the presentation. I was sitting in a chair. They were right in front of me. And I had my computer open and I was just kind of sharing the presentation. And I swear to you, man, a couple of the people, when people are falling asleep, it was that type of vibe. Like people were kind of falling asleep in the presentation, I swear. Hopefully that's not happening right now. But they started doing this like their eyes were getting droopy. I remember I was like, oh my God. And it really shook me up. So I started sweating. I was feeling hot. I was like, oh man. One of the guys was kind of like doing this. And I was like, okay, this guy's paying attention. at the end of the presentation, I can remember like he was filling out his form. And I was like, oh my God, like this guy's filling out his application. I was like, this is amazing. Like somebody's signing up. I was so excited. And the presentation was over. My mentor came in and I was just like, high five, dude. Like somebody signed up, right? And he goes, actually, that guy's already signed up. He was just pretending to sign up because he felt that it was really rough for you. So he wanted to give you a little bit of a boost. You guys have to understand. This is a true story, okay? I swear to you, that set me back. Like I almost quit USANA that day, okay? Like I almost quit. I remember thinking to myself, like, I suck. Like I'm bad at this. I can't do this. You know, people are falling asleep or whatever, but going back to the why, going back to that emotional roller coaster. Like, why am I doing this? You know, I'm doing this for my family. I'm doing this because I want a better future. I'm doing this. I want to travel. I want to get that Lexus. I want to, you know what I mean? Like all of the why came back. And I can remember I got home that day. I went online and I started just Googling like, you know, how to become a better presenter. I can remember Toastmasters International came up and I'm like, I'm signing up. I signed up for Toastmasters. I did some Toastmasters classes. Those really helped. And then I went to convention. I saw other presenters and I was just learning from them. I remember I saw some presentations from people that I thought were really good. And I would just watch the presentation over and over and over until I memorized it. And I felt like I could literally quote the presentation from beginning to end. Started listening to Jim Rohn more. And that was a game changer for me, man. Like I seriously felt like that was like the tipping point. Like I almost gave up, but I stuck with it. So whenever people tell me today, like, Mike, you're a rock star, like you're a good presenter. Somebody the other day gave me a nice compliment and I was like, oh, really? Thanks, man. They're like, Mike, you're the best presenter in USANA, hands down. I was like, thanks, bro. I appreciate that compliment. But you got to understand, it's been 15 years, right? So if I've been doing this for 15 years, I should be decent at it by now. So a lot of people just don't understand that doing presentations, it's about repetition. You know, it really is. I can remember I do presentations for people that were like this. Like I'd go into a room and everybody had their arms crossed like this. And I'm like, all right. Like I was like, this is going to be fun. I sat down and somebody in the room, I remember I did a presentation in Northern California once. And this one dude stood up in the presentation. Like I had just started. He goes, this is a pyramid. Like I just started. There's maybe like 10, 15 people in the room. And this guy said, this is a pyramid, bro. You got to understand, like I was put on the spot and I'm like, okay, cool. Let's go ahead and break that down. What is that? And I just started kind of answering the questions and I started improvising. And before you knew it, like enough of those challenges, those battles, and you're going to get good at this. So if you've ever had a battle, you got to go back to back to home base and think, how could I have done that better? I think after every presentation, you should reflect. How could I have done that better? Man, I answered it this way, but I should have said this, And as you start kind of doing that with yourself, you're going to get better at this business. So I always tell people, man, you got to practice, okay? Practice presenting. There's people in my team who hate me for this, but I'll do a presentation and I'll say, next time you're going to do it. And they're like, no, Mike, you do it. And I'm like, nope. I'm like, I'll show up and I'll sit in the back, but you're doing it and I'll watch you. I've had people literally run off of stage, cry in the side, and I've had to go up and finish the presentation. It's happened to me, but it's okay, man. It's all part of the game. For me, it's all part of the game. It's such a challenge and it's such a rewarding experience when you have the confidence to be able to get in front of someone and present information. I think it's a valuable skill. It's a life-changing skill. So if you're going to focus on building a skill in some way, focus on building your presentation skills. Find a speaker that you admire, record that presentation, and watch it over and over and over and over until it becomes a reflex, man. I highly recommend that, okay? So anyways, let's go ahead and move on. Following up, okay? We're almost done. This is basic. But following up is staying in contact with someone so they can get all the information they need to make the decision. Following up can be as simple as sending them information they requested, sending a video, or setting up a follow-up and additional appointment. Sometimes people have to see it more than once. I've sat down with someone and they're like, all right, let me think about it. And then I'll bring them to another presentation. I sat down one-on-one and then I said, hey, why don't you come and see another one? Let's go to an event. We go to a group event. Then I'm like, here's a webinar. Why don't you jump on and check it out for the third time? It's like, you might want to do that. It's okay. Okay. So it's okay people seeing it multiple times. So key points, following up is your responsibility though. At the end of the presentation, establish the follow-up for the next conversation. Follow up within 24 to 48 hours. Sometimes you take someone to a presentation and they're like, yeah, let me think about it. Don't let like a week go by and then follow up. Follow up within 24 to 48 hours. Effective follow-up requires consistent and organized tracking. So make sure you use like your Customer Connect app on Usana, where you can follow up and just write down, I sent them information or something. Like keep notes, stay organized, okay? Following up normally requires 5 to 7 contacts or light touches before someone makes a decision. A follow-up sometimes for me is, hey, you know what? You need some time to think about it? Cool. Let me send you some samples so you can try the product out, and then we'll follow up in about 3 days. How does that sound? That's how you do it, okay? So there's a lot of ways to follow up, but don't just sit at home and say, I'm gonna wait for them to think about it and wait for a week. When someone says they gotta think about it, I don't know, man. What does that mean? You know, I've never seen someone think about something and make a decision. Like, it's not like they're sitting at home going, Usana. You know what? Yes, like it never happens like that. So I highly recommend follow up, let people try the products. It's better to have them have an experience with the product than to try to get them to understand everything. So just keep going through those exposures, okay? Next, to close. This is a big part of it. And some of you guys feel like this training may be long. It's recorded. It could be valuable. It could be game-changing in your business. To close is another skill that you really, really want to develop. So closing is helping someone come to a decision. I like asking the following questions. At the end of a presentation or a product seminar or whatever you put people through, right? Whatever you sent them to, you want to ask them, what did you like best about what you saw or heard? I just had a prospect a couple of days ago, okay? They were on the webinar. I followed up. I called them and I say, so what did you like about what you heard or saw, right? And they told me, well, I like the money part. And then I said, cool, tell me more about that. Like which part? And they were explaining, I like how, how you can make residual income and how you can kind of grow a team. And I like that. I'm a leader, so I feel like I can do this. So as they were going through that, I'm like, they're closing themselves. I don't really have to close this person. They're closing themselves. So what did you like best about what you saw? If they say, I like the products, be like, okay, let's get you as a customer. No. Say, tell me more about that. I always like asking that question. Hold on, tell me more about that. Which product? Which one caught your eye? Let them talk a little bit, okay? It's easier when they're closing themselves, all right? Just giving you guys a tip on that. Are you ready to begin your training so that you can? So this is something where I like using training as like the final close, where I say, all right, well, let's get you started because I want to put you through training. So the sooner you get started, the sooner we can get you through training. So let's get you enrolled. So I use the training as a closing piece because I don't train people that haven't signed up yet, right? Don't train people who haven't signed up. At the very least, have them make a commitment for the starter kit before you train people. Now, if they don't have money and you're like, well, I'm not going to train them until they activate 3 business centers, that's not a good strategy. If they can only have the starter kit, that's fine. I'm willing to train someone like that. All right. Don't want to say too much more. So you're the expert, lead them to a decision, enroll them with a basic pack or, some type of preferred customer program, whatever that is. Encourage them to make a one-time purchase. You lead the conversation. So after they told you what they like, say, well, let's get you an order. Let's get you to place your first product order. If they say, I only liked the reset program, that's all I liked. I'm not really interested in the business. I just want to buy the product to try it out. Cool. Let's get you on a one-time product purchase and let's send that directly to your house. Does that sound good? And if they say yes, be like, all right, cool. Do you want to pay with your credit card or do you want to Venmo me and then I'll place the order for you? Make sense? So make sure you're pushing the envelope on how they're going to pay. Don't leave it open. Don't be like, okay, let's set up that one-time product order. No, you got to close the deal, man. Like really, really close the deal. So when somebody says, yeah, I want to try the reset program. Okay, cool. You want me to order it for you? Just Venmo me and I'll send it straight directly to your house. That's a close. Okay. What about getting as a preferred customer? I really like the vitamins. I think that they're awesome. I would love to take them. I already take vitamins every month, so I don't mind switching to this. Awesome. Let's get you as a preferred customer. I'm going to set up your account so that you can order, and you can order as much as you want or as little as you want, and you get a huge discount if you order monthly through the preferred customer program. So let's go ahead and set you up. That's a good way to do it. If you want to set up the customer yourself, that's fine. If you want to use Customer Connect, download the Customer Connect app on your phone. Everybody should have that. Send them the link and have them enroll themselves. You can walk them over the phone if you want, right? Or trying to be there with them to guide them. But if you want to enroll the customer on your own as well, it kind of helps to just get that information. and enroll them and then have them have their customer account set up so that they can take it from there. Okay. Just give them that extra customer service, you know? You can say, hey, let me do the customer service for you. Let me set up your preferred customer account. No worries, I'll set it up for you. And then from there, you can log in and manage your own account. How does that sound? So lead the conversation, close, okay? As far as common objections, when it comes to the business side, these are the common objections you're gonna get, okay? So don't be afraid of these objections. Get familiar and master them. No time. You're gonna have people say, Mike, I like the business, but I got no time. One thing that I like to do to answer those questions is make sure that you can relate to them, okay? Expect these objections. They're so common. Expect them. Don't get defensive. Acknowledge the concern of the objection, okay? Ask questions to better understand the person and the source of the objection. So objections may reveal the need in USANA. So oftentimes the reason why they don't want to do it could be the reason why they should do it. So if they say they have no time, just be like, what do you mean? Like, tell me a little bit more about that. What do you see as a challenge? Well, I just don't have any time, man. I have to be with my kids. I got work. I got this. I got this. I got this. So I like to always start by saying, man, I totally hear you, man. I hear you 100%. But I think what we're talking about here is a solution on how you can make residual income to kind of leverage your time, right? So you're providing a solution for that. So oftentimes if they're kind of saying no because of time, and also remember, how much time does it really take? 5-10 hours a week? You know, I mean, like to start, just to kind of get your feet wet and start kind of getting a couple of customers, building your associate base a little bit. It only takes 5-10 hours a week. Like people can manage that. And I'll get into that a little bit later. As far as no money, whenever somebody gives me the no money objection, I always go, okay, cool. Let's get you with the starter kit at the very least, just to get the ball rolling. And let's focus on getting customers so you can make money to finally get your business going. Okay? So the no money objection, it's not challenging for me anymore because USANA has a very affordable way of getting started. When people say I'm not a salesperson, we actually had a call the other day and somebody from USANA was like, I'm not a salesman. And when he said this, it was funny because I think people have this preconceived notion of what a salesman is. But if you're just good at explaining something, presenting all the benefits, that's really what it comes down to. And sharing your story, right? Sharing your experience with it, something that you love. Like if you've ever seen a good movie and you tell your friend about it and you're like, oh, dude, you gotta see this movie. It was freaking amazing. That's something that you're a salesperson, right? You're edifying. You're talking about something that you really enjoy. So when people say they're not a salesperson, I'm like, man, everybody's a salesperson. Everyone is a salesperson. You know, even if you have kids, I think you have to be a salesperson. You got to sell them on why they should clean their room, or you got to sell them on why they need to do their homework, or why they need to brush their teeth at night. Like you got to sell them on everything, right? So I think if you're not a salesperson and you feel like that right now, I think you're going to have to get good at that. You know, get good at explaining the benefits, presenting all the benefits and why people should do something. And I think those are the best salespeople. But remember, don't get defensive. Don't be so pushy. It's just explaining something. Watch your tone, you know? Like if somebody says, Mike, I'm just not a salesperson. Don't be like, what do you mean you're not a salesperson? Like if you take your tone there, like somebody says, hey, I totally understand how you feel, you know? But I feel like you're good at explaining things, you know? Like, hey, what's your favorite movie? This movie. Okay, why is it your favorite? Well, because, you know, this is. I mean, look, you know, you're telling me about the benefits of them or what you liked about it. That's the same way you're going to talk about USANA. You know, once you take the product, you're going to share what you liked about it with people. That's really where the business starts. You're getting customers. You're sharing the benefits with other people. So that's how you kind of understand that. The pyramid scheme one you're going to get oftentimes, so let's just address it right now. Whenever people ask if it's a pyramid scheme, don't be like, a pyramid scheme? Like, no, of course not. Like, don't do that. The best thing with pyramid schemes is I would always say this. I'd say, well, I can understand why you might think that because there's a lot of companies out there that are weird, but we're a publicly traded company, you know? If we're a publicly traded company, do you think that there's departments of the government that look into publicly traded companies to see if they are or if they're not? You know, like keep a calm tone. I think that's the best way to go. You know, say, look at our stock. Our stock's performing really well. Like, you know, why would you think that? You know, so anyway, so I like to bring up those types of like strong accolades that USANA carries, and that's always helped me. There's a lot of articles as well online. Like there's a Forbes article that shows that USANA is not a pyramid scheme. And I like to share that article with people as well. So just be calm with that one. Be patient with it. Hear people out. Oftentimes they've had a bad experience, or they know somebody who's had a bad experience, or they heard of something crazy. So just kind of be like, so why do you think that? Have you had a bad experience, or did you hear somebody that went through something crazy, or what? Why would you say that? Let them explain it to you. And oftentimes they just say, it'll work. Be like, so if I can answer why that's not the case, will you think that it's not anymore? And if you kind of understand the question and what's really the issue, you can answer it well, then you can move on from that, right? So anyways, I don't know anyone. I hear that one as well too. That's a common objection. I don't know anybody who'd be interested in this. So if you hear someone like that, just be like, okay, I totally understand how you feel. But remember, this business is not just about who you know, but we're out there meeting new people. We're out there making contacts and building relationships. Okay. So I can't do it. Talk about training. I don't need supplements. Try it out. 5 days, see how you feel. So there's ways to overcome those common objections. Okay. But get used to them. Practice them. I remember I always used to do this with some of my associates. I'd be like, hey, I'll be the prospect, you be the associate. Hey, I don't have time, man. I want to do it, but I don't have time. And we would just role play for a couple of minutes, and eventually we got pretty good at it. So I highly recommend it. Just role play with some of your team members and just get over these objections. Okay, don't be afraid of them. Embrace them, face them. Okay, events. So as far as events are concerned, that's where you're going to build your belief. So I'll be honest. Registering for things like convention or conference calls or just any type of event that USANA hosts, I think that's one of the best things you can do for yourself. Okay, so really, really focus and keep your eyes peeled on when the next events are. I don't miss USANA events. I don't miss conventions. I don't miss regional events. I don't miss anything like that. So please keep an eye out. Look for events. They're really fun. You get to meet a lot of people. You get to network. I mean, it's a game changer for me. I look at my first year before convention and my year after convention, and it was night and day, man. My belief was through the roof. As far as time management is concerned, most people in USANA is part-time. So 2 to 10 hours a week. It's very possible for someone to develop a growing business this way, but it takes commitment. It's important, the difference between revenue generating activity and non-revenue generating activity. So we have the two categories right here. Non-revenue generating activity. Okay, so sending emails, designing your website, organizing your office, planning your conference calls, listening to CDs or audios, podcasts, whatever, attending live events, team building activities, reading personal development books, watching videos, role playing, as I mentioned. All of that stuff is great. You should do this, okay? 10 to 20% of your time, you should do those things, but it's not going to make money. It's training though. It's all things that are going to get you prepared, but it's not going to make money, okay? It's just getting you ready. Revenue generating activity, it's meeting and building relationships by connecting with new people through the phone, email, social media, whatever. That's going to make money, okay? Making phone calls, setting up presentations, that makes money. Giving presentations, conducting three-way calls, getting referrals, bringing guests to USANA events, all of those things are leading to making money. So I'm just letting you guys know, 2 categories, make sure you're doing both, okay? Don't spend all your time preparing. Do a little bit of that, but make sure you're also doing revenue generating activities, okay? All right, guys, don't want to say too much more. Hopefully that was helpful. I'll go ahead and end it with this. I think about, how many people get involved in USANA, what does it look like? And in the end, this metaphor hopefully will hit home for you guys. As you're building your business, you're going to have a lot of people coming in. And as people come into your business, you're going to get excited. Maybe this is you, right? If this fishbowl is USANA, you're putting people into that fishbowl, customers, associates, whatever the case may be. As you're in the fishbowl, what happens? You're excited. You're doing well. But understand that there's retention. There's a fallout rate in this business. When it comes to customers, there's a fallout rate, right? You get 10 customers, 8 of them don't reorder, or 8 of them order every 2 months and you want them to order every month. It's like there's a fallout rate to this, okay? So don't get discouraged by that. You have to embrace it and see what can you do to minimize that fallout, right? So that's our job. I mean, that's what you get paid for. You're an associate. You want to make sure that you minimize the fallout of your customers. You don't want to get 10 customers and lose 9, right? You want to get 10 customers and try to keep 8, 9 of them. So what can you do? Same thing with associates. You enroll 10 people. You don't want 9 of them to quit. You want 9, 10 of them to stay, right? So what can you do? I always think it comes down, if you're losing people like that, I always think it comes down to personal development. And that goes for customers and associates, okay? So for me, as an associate, the best thing that you can do is really get on personal development from day one. So if there's nothing else you learn from me after this, if you just disregard everything I taught, get on personal development with Jim Rohn. I think that will tip the scale for you. And if you guys can tell, Jim Rohn is like fish food, right? Put it in, get your people consuming Jim Rohn, get your people consuming personal development. I think that's a big thing. What ends up happening is you're gonna have your people start to grow. When somebody grows like that, they don't fit through that hole anymore. You're retaining them. Same thing with customers. Let's say you're sending them to a lot of the product trainings that USANA has. Can you imagine? You send them to a product training where one of the senior scientists at USANA is talking about the product. That's like that fish food. Your customers, whoop, they get bigger. They're not gonna fall out like that because you're feeding them. Make sense? So the key is to always feed your customers, feed your associates information to get them to grow. What's cool though is once they're big, they're gonna stay with you for life. Anyways, guys, don't want to say too much more. Hopefully it was helpful. Don't have anything else to say. I'll take some questions or comments or things like that. But this is recorded, and I hope you guys had some value in it, and you guys can share it with new associates. Nate, I'm turning it back over to you if you want to take some questions or that. If anything else, we can just end it right there.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, Mike. I'm going to stop the recording there. I appreciate your time and appreciate you taking that opportunity here and really helping us out. And there were a lot of, I don't know if you're following the chat or if you wanted to take the time to follow the chat, but there's a lot of people that were just basically agreeing with what you were saying and emphasizing the concepts that you were saying as well. I think we have maybe time for 1 or 2 questions. If you have a question there in the chat, go ahead and type it, and we'll see if we can get your question answered here. Otherwise, we'll maybe end the call tonight. So let's wait for a minute here. But Mike, really, thank you so much for your preparation with this and for your willingness to share your expertise with us.
Hey, no worries, man. I'm hoping that it reaches some people who are, like I said, new or people that are just kind of getting re-engaged. It's about keeping it simple. You know, myself, Nate, I'm building again. I'm getting customers. I'm enrolling. Right now, I'm helping one of my new associates earn $100 check this week. Well, $113. So, you know, it's like we're working on it, and it's a lot of it just comes down to the basics. Can you imagine if everybody on the call right now helped one person earn a $100 check next week? You know, what would happen? What would that look like for USANA? So, I think keeping it simple is key.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree. There was a question about the recording. So once we get the recording prepared and ready, we'll post it on our USANA Associate Community page. So be on the lookout on that page for this recording. There was, let's see here. So that was where most of the questions came in, was about the recording.
I'm looking at the questions as well. So hold on a second. It says, people are asking if they Venmo the money to you when you close, do you open them an account or do you just order it under your account? Well, if they Venmo me the money, I'll just order it under my account for now, okay, as the first order. But once they receive the products and they have that experience, the second order, I encourage them to enroll as a preferred customer. So that's how I've been doing it for now. I'm not saying for everyone to do that. That's the way that I've been doing it, because I just want to get them their products. I want them to have that first order experience. So if Venmo's easier for them, then I go that route. But by then, you know, now they have a little bit of confidence in the company. They have faith that it's legit and that everything's good. They like it. They're more inclined. It's easier to get them to become preferred customers. So hopefully that answers your question, Lee Austin.
There was one more. Let's see. Phil, he asked, what tool do you like to send for people to see?
I mean, right now, what I do my own presentations. That's why I was pushing the envelope for people to practice presenting, you know, because I feel like until you can do a presentation, you're waiting for something to happen. And I think once you learn how to present or you're willing to present, now you're in the driver's seat. Now you can go out there and do 5, 10, 15 presentations a week or a month, because you're in control. So right now I'm sending them to myself, obviously. I'm scheduling an appointment and I'm doing a webinar, a Zoom one-on-one. Or I'm doing obviously the group meetings that we've been hosting with USANA, and I'm just inviting them there. Okay, what are you guys doing to help her earn the 113? So we enrolled one associate, okay, together. So we did a presentation, enrolled one associate, and then the rest have been customer orders. All of the orders so far have been Venmo orders. So there haven't been any preferred customers for this person, but all Venmo orders, which is great. Maximizing all 3 business centers. And what's cool is that this person already went through a 200-point auto order cycle. So they did their auto order 200 points. So I'm feeling pretty good about my new associate. Their first check was $20, and now they're pushing for the next pin level.
That's awesome. And Mike, I think we'll have time for one more. Just I know we've gone a little bit over an hour, so we just want to respect everybody's time. So let's do one more question. I'll just let you, as you're looking through, just choose one.
Hold on. There's a lot of. Hold on. People are asking about so some people are asking about the article that USANA is not a pyramid. I'll go ahead and post it. Maybe you can post it, Nate, it's the Forbes article. I'll highlight it there. Maybe we can post it in USANA. If not, I'll post it just send me a message and I'll send it to you. I mean, it's a really solid article. I always use that to send it to prospects who are kind of struggling with that. All right, guys, thanks a lot. Sorry, Nate, for taking a lot of time, but hopefully it was information that was valuable.
Oh, you're fine. It definitely was valuable. So thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. And everybody, thank you for spending the last hour and hour plus with us. I know it was very valuable for you as well. So thanks again, and we'll see you soon.
All right, take care.